Hello and welcome back to another episode of Soccer Supernova with me, Amy Canavan, the show where I talk to some of the most interesting ex-pros kicking around, especially from the Scottish game, and today's guest is no different to that. Today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Andy McLaren. Andy, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Amy. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to a wee chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much for doing this. You really are one of the most interesting guests we possibly could have had on, and I think, and we'll touch upon that. And I just think I really am thankful for you coming on the show because you definitely are a guy high in demand. And I think in recent weeks I've had Jerry Farrell on, and you're looking at the rise of David Martindale, and they all come back to you. They all go, you know, Andy McLaren's he done that full circle, and I think that's a real credit to you. So just to kick things off, Castlemilk boy, what was it like growing up there?
It was interesting. My early years, as I say, I was brought up there, and it's got a reputation, like a lot of schemes. But as I say, if you're from the area, I was fine. You know, I just wanted to play football. Around about that time, there was loads of football pitches. There was loads of other stuff as well, loads of negative stuff to get involved in, but thankfully, the football kept me away from most of it. But as I say, there was some challenges growing up. But as I say, it probably shaped me as well. Made me certainly the person I'm today.
So certainly from that early age, obviously, like you say, football, it sort of set you in that stead and set you up for life. What's it like being in the heat of Glasgow at that time? You're talking 70s, 80s, the Celtic Rangers divide. Did you really feel that intensity?
Aye, especially around about Old Firmties. The 80s as well was, I mean, one of my earliest memories is a 81 cup final, and it was a riot. Police, horses charging fans and stuff like that. But I was for a kind of mixed upbringing as well, which made it a bit more difficult. And listen, I think most people in Glasgow have got family for each side, you know. So my dad was a big Rangers fan. My mum was kind of Irish Catholic immigrants after them, you know. So it was interesting, but as I say, it's something that I've never got too caught up in. Obviously, the football probably kept me away from that as well, you know. I went and watched both sides when I was younger, and also used to go and watch Clyde at Shawfield, you know. So a very varied upbringing that way. But as I say, the football was kind of my escape. I wanted, any time I had a ball at my feet, I was happy.
What was your early footballing memories? Did you get picked up by the academy at a young age, or is it all about playing out in the street with your pals?
Listen, I started just playing the street with my friends, and then I played in the school team, I think, when I was about primary 3, primary 4, which back then was a big thing because playing for the school was a big thing. I don't think it's the same nowadays, but certainly back then, you know, it was tough to get into the school team even. And I played in the school team maybe primary 3, primary 4, and then went to a boys' club when I was 7 or 8. It was just a local boys' club. You just basically turned up and trained one night, and then went and played some games. And my debut for the boys' club was I still remember it. I was only 7-year-old. I went on. The manager told me to go and play left half, and I didn't know my left from my right even at that point, so I just went on and stood somewhere. I went on, they blew the whistle, and that was the final whistle, so I didn't even get to kick the ball. So that was basically my start to boys' club football. Probably wasn't the greatest of starts, but I'm glad the rest of my career didn't get in that path.
It certainly didn't. So was it playing in this boys' club football that Dundee United sort of came around? Is it that young an age that it all sort of transpired?
Yeah, at 11, 12, I was getting scouts coming to the door. I was training with Hearts at that point. They'd actually offered to sign me, and they asked me to make my way through to Tynecastle, me and my dad. But for where we were working class, and we didn't have a lot of money, you know, so even the train fare through to Edinburgh was probably a bit too much. So we never went through, and that's when Dundee United stepped in. There was other teams in as well, but Dundee United just seemed a really good fit for me.
And did you move up to Dundee at that 11, 12, or was it
No,
travelling?
no. So we used to train at an old place called Helen Vale, just at Parkhead in Glasgow, and all my family for around about there, so it was good. My two grannies stayed in Parkhead, and I would go there before training, then I would go up to training, and I'd go back to one of their house, and they would get me on the bus, and I would go 2 buses back up to Castle, So there was a lot of sacrifices had to be made as well. I was 12-year-old, 11-year-old, and nowadays I probably wouldn't do it, but I was having to go and get 2 buses to get to training. We used to train in Hamilton on Monday night as well. And me and another wee guy would meet at Kilmarnock and we get the train through to Hamilton and then go train and then get the train back. That was the thing you had to do back then. As I say, my mum and dad didn't drive, so you had to wanted to be a footballer. You had to make sacrifices. You had to, and I think that kind of separated the ones who were kind of devoted to it as such, whereas some guys just didn't have that mentality to go training every night. And but for me, I loved it. It was never a chore to go training. I always loved going training or any excuse to kick a ball, but it was good enough for me.
So that commitment at an early age, it even paid off while you were still relatively young. Talk us through that under-16 World Cup. That you were part of that team. What's that whole experience like at such a young age?
It was unbelievable. Look back on it today, and the start it was at Hampden, and even the opening ceremony, Pelé was there, so Pelé came along and shook everybody's hand, and it was surreal. I grew up literally 5-10 minutes away from Hampden. It was on my doorstep. I'd been doing it as a kid, and we used to get in the summer and kind of sneak in and wander about and go on the pitch and stuff, and when you're a kid at 10, 11, you're dreaming about playing a World Cup final or a Scottish Cup final, and that's what we're pretending today. And 5 years later, here I was standing, shaking Pelly's hand and at the opening of a World Cup, And they say that the longer it went on, the momentum just built. I started the first game, got injured. And then, as I say, the boys were doing well, so they kept the same team. But it just kept building. As I say, we get through the group stages. It went up to Aberdeen to play Germany. I think it was East Germany or West Germany as it was then. And we beat them 1-0. And as I say, we went to Tynecastle for the semis, and that's when it got real. We were playing Portugal, and it was their golden generation. Guys like Rui Figo and Rui Costa, these guys that were on with unbelievable careers, And even getting on the bus to Tynecastle that night, you could just feel the atmosphere. There was fans out of the street. We got into the stadium, and the stadium was bursting at the seams. There was people on the pitches. It says it was 30,000 that night, but I think there was more than that. There was probably another 10,000 locked out. And Brian O'Neill scored a great header, and we won 1-0. And as I say, that's us in the World Cup final. To say it was surreal, but great memories to look back on.
You sort of have a different perspective on it to anyone else. Obviously, you're in that team, you're in that environment. What's going on with the Scottish setup now? Why aren't we hitting those heights even at such a young age? Now, I think Craig Brown was the coach then. It's exemplary. What's going wrong now? Is it funding? Is it grassroots? What do you see as the difference?
Listen, I drive about a lot, and I don't see a lot of kids playing football after then back. Like people think you maybe train twice a week and that's what's going to make you a professional football player. I learned more probably playing in the streets than what I did going to training. Training was about working your technique. You learned other stuff playing in the streets. You would go and try things in the street. Things that maybe some people wouldn't like to take into games. I had no fear of that. I would always try anything different. But as I say, I just don't see. They talk now about elite athletes having to have done something like I think it's 10,000 hours of training or whatever. I counted it up once, and I reckon I've probably done that by the time I was about 14. Because all I done was play football. I went to school in the morning, we played football. We played football before the bell. We played football at playtime. We played football at dinner time. We played football at playtime in the afternoon, and then we'd go home and we'd play football. So you might be talking 4 or 5 hours a day, and it's no. listen, it wasn't organised football. It was maybe to a side with a keeper on, or kicking the ball against the wall, or just walking about the streets with a ball. We always had a ball, and that's how you get better at something. You don't get better with 2 hours a week and maybe a bit of training. And, that for me was what I done. That was how I got to under 16, and I'm in a Scotland team in a World Cup final. It wasn't for. I mean, I could probably train 3 times a week at that point, and played on a Saturday morning, played on a Saturday afternoon, and played on a Sunday. Kids aren't allowed to do that now. They're not allowed to play with a school team and then in boys' club and things like that. And I believe to be good at something, you've got to practice it. You've got to put the hours in. And I just don't think that. Listen, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it. I don't see them putting in the same hours that we put in. Also, when I was growing up, Scotland, we'd some of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
I grew up watching guys like Kenny Dalglish, Graham Souness, Paul McStay, guys like Ian Durant, who were unbelievable footballers. Every team in the English Premiership had 3-4 Scottish players. And it was all the successful ones. So I grew up watching that. I grew up watching Scotland take on Brazil in World Cups, and just go to World Cup. You just expected to get to World Cups back then. The thing for me is we massively underachieved. We've always done that. But the teams and the players we had, even back in the 70s, it was ridiculous. The players we had, and that was the guys that I could look up to. I think we're getting somewhere now. The teams in the English Premiership, there is a lot of Scots there, but it's not like some of them do good jobs in their teams, but they're not the top stars.
Aye.
When I was growing up, it was like Dalglish, Souness at Liverpool, Andy Gray, Graham Sharp, but every English team, Arsenal, Nicholas, Leeds always 3 or 4 as well, so every team you looked at, it's Scottish players, and that inspires you because you think, you look at all these Scottish guys doing well, and you think if they can do it, then I can do it, So I think that's something that we certainly missed it maybe the last decade, but as I say, it's getting back. You've got some good Scottish players playing the English Premiership and doing really well. Tierney and McGinn and guys like that, So we all at Liverpool's been unbelievable as well, So it's giving the kids somebody to aspire to as well, and I think that's a big thing as well.
Having that aspiration, you're spot on. You're talking about 82 there, then you're looking at that Dundee United side and they guys are there. So you're watching them and you're Morris Malpas and then you're playing alongside them. Does that make the transition into Dundee United first team youth or the youth team, the reserves, that setup, does it make it daunting or does it just make you even more eager to really break into that?
Listen, I just spoke about it there. One of my first football memories was Brazil, 82. And Big Dave Neri scored, and I remember it vividly sitting with my brother in a house in Cashmore, and Ron Mental in Scotland scored, and 7 years later I was sharing a dressing room with that guy, and I wasn't I'm going to be honest, I used to just sit and watch how he tied his laces and things like that, it was surreal sharing a dressing room with somebody you'd watch do that. I mean, I used to go up to Dundee United games when they were having all these successful runs in Europe as well, and watch them beat Barcelona's and Werder Bremen's and all these top teams, and 4 or 5 years later I was sharing a dressing room with these guys, so it was surreal, but as I say, I loved it, that's what I'd trained for and aspired to. I was a young kid, so to get there, I was a bit overawed at first, but once I got in there, I thought, listen, I'm good enough to be here. I had that self-belief that I should be there. I was good enough. I think that's a big part of it as well. It's having that belief in yourself, that trust, and there was certain times that I had abundance of that, and other times that I didn't. Depending on a lot of certain other things.
So you say that self-belief, obviously the manager Jim McLean obviously had great belief in you as well. Was he a figure when you were in the youth setup still, or was it only really until you broke into that first team? What was his connection like to the youngsters?
Incredible. We used to train at Helen Vale on a Thursday night in Glasgow, and every Thursday we'd come down to watch the S-Forms training. He knew everybody's name, he knew everything about you. When I went in to sign with Dundee United, my first professional contract, we were playing St Mirren in the semi-final of the Youth Cup, and it was over at the Old Love Street, and I went in to sign, and he'd been in touch with my school, and asked about my behaviour. Listen, my behaviour was all right, but my attendance wasn't that great, if I'm being honest. The last couple of years of school, listen, during all that, Scotland were gearing up to go to the Under-16 World Cup, so we had a lot of time off. You know, we were in Denmark for like 10 days, we were in France, you know, they were trying to get us really prepared, you know, so I wasn't at school as much as what I should have been, and Jim knew that, you know, he'd been in touch with the school, and that was one of his first words to me. He says, "I'm expecting trouble off you." I'm glad to say I didn't disappoint, I don't think. No, as I say, he was unbelievable. Like, football-wise, he was the best I worked under by a mile. There was a side to him that's well documented as well, you know. But football-wise, he was a genius. You know, you look now, the United were beating Barcelona home and away. You know, getting to semi-finals of the Champions League, getting to finals of the UEFA Cup. You know, it's a club the size of Dundee United to be doing that. You know, it was incredible. But like I say, listen. He liked me. It's a funny way of showing it, but he said that a few ex-players and stuff, that he had a soft spot for me. I'm glad he did, because I wouldn't have liked to have seen it if he disliked me, you know, because he never made any exceptions, and he never gave me any leeway. If I was going out to other, he would have me, you know, he couldn't have them.
You're coming through that with a real good bunch of youngsters at Dundee United there. What's it like when you're making your debut with all these guys and you're breaking through?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, see, even going to Dundee United, it was like there was levels. It was like the youth team. There was the same pressure on youth team games up there as there was first team games, you know. So it was every game was treated the same. You know, if we were playing the Youth Cup, everybody would be there. Jim McLaren, Stirrup, all the coaches, and it was treated with the same level of intensity as a first team game, you know. So as you were going up the levels, going into reserves, again it was the same, you know. So you kind of knew what was expected here. We knew our jobs, you know. That's one of my pet hates. And I watch all these experts on telly, and they're telling us how well the team's drilled and everybody knows their jobs. I'm thinking, well, professional football players, surely they should know their job before they go to the park, you know. That should be a given, you know. And we'd done all our shape. Jim had a way of playing, and but he could adapt that as well, you know. So you had to know the game, you know. Everybody that came through the youth system at the United, even if they get let go, they always went and played at some sort of level, you know, because, as I say, they were well coached. Everybody knew what position, how to play it, you know, what to do when the other team had the ball, you know. All the buzzwords that they're talking about just now, as if it's just football's just been invented, you know. We were doing that stuff 30 years ago, you know. All your shape and analysis and all your sports science, you know. And it's as if they're trying to reinvent the wheel just now, you know. It's as if, but as I say, Jim was well ahead of his time with all that kind of stuff, you know. And as I say, there was no build up to. I don't even think he told me. I think the squad went up on the Friday, as what always happens. The reserve squad and the first team squad went up in the home changing room, and I went in. I was in the first team squad, and I thought I'd maybe be carrying the hampers or something, you know, and named the team, and I was a sub, and then I got on 12 minutes. But it was, as I say, that's what I dreamed about for being a wee boy, you know. So to eventually get my first team start, you know, and for me that was a start, you know. That gave me a real taste for it, and I wanted to go on and do more.
What age were you when you made your debut?
I think I was 18, maybe just turned 18. I'd been running about the first team for I'd been 17. I played a couple of pre-season games. We played Rangers and Morris Malpass testimonial that summer, and I played in that. So I was getting around about it. You know, they used to have you in training with them as well, and that gives you a real taste for it. You know, the standard, the qualities of people, what was asked of you. You know, because it was intense. You know, we Jim always had you training the way you played. That was his mantra. You know, you don't mess about in training. You train the way you play. You know, so training was always very intense, high intensity. You wouldn't get away with slacking off in the wee gym. You know, it'd be right on you.
Like you say, so making your debut, that's terrific. But as you say, it's about maintaining your spot and staying in that side, and you do that. And at the age of 20, you're appearing in a Scottish Cup final. What's that like?
Again, it's surreal. I remember walking out the tunnel and just looking around me, and I was excited, but I was like, yes, this is what it's about. You know, that's for me was what playing football was about. You know, they big occasions, walking out to Hampden, 50 odd thousand, and I felt, you know, I was nervous, but I'm thinking, this is brilliant. You know, this is what I want to do. You know, this is what I've dreamed about when a wee boy. You know, I see people that they get really nervous, and you think, why? You know, you've worked all your life for this. You know, and I went out that day and I had no fear. You know, Rangers were a great side back then. I think that they were going for back-to-back trebles. And I just thought before the game, you'll beat them. You know, you're just as good as we had a really good side as well. And the young ones who weren't scared for losing 4 or 5 cup finals to Dundee United. They was talking this kind of hoodoo thing. I spoke to Dave Bowman and stuff after it, and I said to him, do you think we had a chance when in there? And he says, I hope you did. He says, Andy, I'd lost 4 or 5 finals, you know. And I can remember saying, oh, wasn't you who'd won? You know, I don't know if that's just innocence of youth or, you know, I was 20-year-old and but as I say, I thought it was brilliant just walking out there and wanted to get on the ball, wanted to listen. You want to go and express yourself, you know, show these people what you can do, you know. I think we were the winners that day as well. And I didn't take it on. That's probably the thing I look back and I'm a bit of regret. You know, I remember Morris Malpass before the game saying to me, take everything in. You never know when you go back. And one of these, and I can remember thinking to myself, I'll be playing these every year. As I say, the innocence of youth and whatever. I never played in another one after that, you know. So he was right, and I was wrong as usual. But as I say, it was an incredible experience for a 20-year-old to get there and walk up the stairs at Hampden and pick up the Scottish Cup. You know, it's the stuff dreams are made of.
What is the scenes in the dressing room like and the celebrations? Like you say, that's Dundee United's first Scottish Cup.
Yeah.
It must be massive. Everyone at the club must be buzzing.
Oh, it's bedlam. It was bedlam. You know, that was back in the days when there was a big bath and stuff, and I just jumped in the bath with my kit on, and wee Jim came in and the worst speech ever. He says, Craig Brewster's cost this club a lot of money today. We were on a few quid bonus, and Big Brewster was on a bonus to score 20 goals, and that was his 20th goal that day, you know. So, but as I say, I think he was joking, but no, Jimmy probably was.
You don't know.
He went on and congratulated us after it. So, but as I say, it was just bedlam, and then as I say, the next day up in Dundee was incredible. You know, it's something you maybe don't get in Glasgow the same, but the open top bus, we came out of the hotel and turned into the main street of Dundee, and it was just a sea of tangerine and see grown men crying, and you realise what you've done. You know, I mean, I didn't realise half of what I'd done. I was still a wee bit worse for wear for the night before, if I'm being honest, because it was quite a party. But listen, it was the end of the season, and we'd just done something that no Dundee United team had ever done. You know, so we were party. I mean, we're still up there now. We're still up in the walls up there. You know, legends as they say. You know. something that can't be took away. You know, it's something that's going to be there forever. You know, so it's something that I can always look back on with a great deal of pride.
Absolutely, you have to, as you say, nobody can take that away from you. So that's around halfway through your spell at Dundee United. You spent 10 years at the club for the first time round, and you've said it yourself, you're one of those guys who were on one of those crazy long contracts. Did you ever feel, as many were, did you ever feel that you could get out? Was there clubs looking for you before you eventually got that move away?
There was loads of times that I thought I was at the door. And we used to, listen, football dressing rooms are full of dark humour, you know. If one of the boys got a move, we'd say he'd escaped, you know, he's got out of the wall, and, you know, it was that kind of mentality, you know. So, and other boys I grew up with, they all got away, you know. I was the last one out that group, you know. Big Dunk went, Badger went, Paddy Conley, Alec Cleland, John O'Neill, Robbie Winters, all my pals, you know, every one of them had been in both their moves, and it'd always been interesting me, you know. About 2021, I think Celtic tried to had a right good amount for me. And me, Jim, said that I was worth more than that. You know, I was on one of these contracts, and I was on 150, 200 quid a week, you know, and he was saying I was worth X amount, but he was paying me X amount. It was bizarre, you know. Listen, there was nothing you could do, you know. It was the days before Bosman, you know. You were on a long-term contract, unless you walked away, you know. And I thought about doing that a few times, you know, just the way you were getting treated sometimes, and you just thought, listen, I'm better go here and get a normal job, you know. There wasn't a big difference in the money I was getting, unless you were in the first team and winning games, you were earning probably less than a working man, you know. But everybody thought you were, because you were a football player, you were earning fortunes, you know. And it wasn't like that. And I thought if I could get a move, there was Bolton trying to get me a couple of times as well, and there was other teams in the English Premiership, and it just, for whatever reason, Jim wouldn't sell me. So I got to a stage, I never chucked it, but I was that pissed off, you know. They'd be bringing in guys now and they were on a few quid, and on Saturday they'd be saying to me, right, come on, Andy, we need a bit of magic off, you know. I'm thinking, he's on 10 times what I'm on, you know, and you're looking for me to do all the good stuff, you know. And I started getting a bit probably resentful, you know. I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably get my head down and just worked harder. But as I say, if you're doing the same job or a better job than somebody else and you're getting 10 times what you're getting, you know, you're going to get a wee bit pissed off, isn't you, you know. And I think that's kind of what happened towards the end of my time there. I started getting a wee bit better and probably stayed too long, you know, but it wasn't my choice, you know. I got to a stage where I knew it was probably time to go, but I probably stayed 2-3 years longer than I should have, you know.
You eventually do get your move to Redden, and we'll touch on that in a wee sec. But we've talked about the highs at Dundee United, and there was quite a few, obviously, the Scottish Cup sticking out. But it's not all, like you say, it's not all glam. You're only on 150 quid a week as well. This isn't a lifetime ago. This is only 20 odd years ago. So it's frightening to think that was the only wage you were on. When did, obviously there's a little bit of disappointment in that, and there is sadness, of course. When did the drink sort of all come into this as well? Was it at the beginning of Dundee United, or was it the latter end, or?
Listen, I always like to drink, I'm going to be honest. You know, a lot of stuff from my past. My son was born when I was 17, and my dad had died 2 months before that, you know, and that was in the first year I'd been away from home. So there was a lot going on in my personal life that people don't see, and I used drink as a coping mechanism. You know, I'd be away from home. To say my son was down the road, I'd go up in Dundee 5 days a week. I'd come home at the weekend. I'd miss out and seen him growing up. As I say, my dad had died 3 months before my son was born. I was up in Dundee in digs myself. You know, you talk about, listen, there's a big thing in there about mental health and all that. And listen, I was speaking about this stuff 20 years ago. It's a lot more relevant, and not relevant, you know, it was relevant 20 years ago, but it's a lot more out there, you know. But that was the stuff that I was dealing with all throughout my football career, dealing with all these feelings and stuff, you know. People think football players are, you know, they're invincible, they've no feelings, they've no emotions, you know. I had all this stuff, and I used drink as a cope mechanism with that, you know, if I felt shit, if I had a bad game, if I had a good game, I would, listen, I like to go and drink, and I don't know when I crossed the line, I really don't, you know, went for just casual drinking to addictive, you know, but there's loads of different parts to that. It's not just one part. It's made me drink or take drugs or whatever. It's a multitude of things, you know. It's a build up, you know, and even just the pressure of being a professional football player. You know, I remember you spoke about it during the under-16 World Cup. People recognising you. You know, that was really. That's a 16-year-old boy from Castle, and there's people you don't know coming up to you in the street and talking away to you. My wife she still finds it bizarre. You know, I'll be in the town, maybe, well, not been for a while right enough, but you maybe just walk about and a guy or somebody walks up to you and you have a full-scale conversation and Claire says, "Who's that?" And I say, "I don't know," you know, and that takes a bit getting used to. You know, it doesn't sound much, but you know, if you're just a normal guy, you grow up in a housing scheme, you know, and you know, listen, I'm not saying I was a superstar or anything like that, but it's just these things like that. It takes a bit to get used to. You know, it feels as if you're public property. You know, especially I was staying in Dundee at the time. You know, so Dundee United, the big club in the city. You know, so everybody knew you, and people. You know, you just maybe out for a meal with your wife, and next minute maybe people come and try to just sit with you, and you know they think they can just. So it was a culmination of things, you know. I'm loud and aggressive and whatever, but I'm also quite shy. I know that sounds a bit, you know, but you know, I be loud and aggressive and shout and bawl because it takes the pressure away from you, maybe looks at you, you know. It was my kind of my cope mechanism to be the loudest person in the dressing room, so that maybe would actually turn on you know. So, and I used to drink that way as well, you know. Insecurities, all that, you know. As I say, I don't know when I crossed the line. I don't, you know, there's no specific. Listen, there's loads of moments where I thought I'm not going to drink again, and I would stop, but I couldn't stay stopped. You know, it was easy to stop. The hard part was actually staying stopped. You know, and it took me a long time to get to that stage as well.
You touched on it, it's the big city sort of mentality. So then you go down to Reading, which is just a stone's throw away from London. And the problems, it's just sort of taking them on tour, isn't it, when you go down there?
That's exactly what it is. I was running away from Dundee and Glasgow, but I was trying to run away from me. You know, that's the kind of the madness of it. You know, I'm doing it to sort myself out, but I'm the problem. You know, and you know, and listen, I speak to people all the time, and they try and do geographicals all the time, like move house, it's the house's fault, it's this fault. It's when the day and hour I started saying, like, I'm playing a part in this, was the day I could finally start getting better, you know. But as I say, moving to London, that was my intentions. And I remember being on the flight down and speaking to myself and saying, like, that's a big opportunity to be doing here and half a drink, other stuff. And you're doing well down here. And that was my intentions, but like I say, it's like you said, 20 minutes outside London, it was jumping out the frying pan into the fire. And I had a bit more money down there as well, which probably didn't help me. But listen, it's made me horrible. I don't look back today with any regrets, you know. That's what made me the kind of person I'm over there. That's the life I've led, you know, good and bad. And listen, it's shaped who I am. And I like to think I'm a half decent person today, you know. I've learned from my mistakes. You know, everybody makes mistakes. You know, everybody, doesn't matter who you are, you know. So I've learned to live with them, and I've learned to move on from them and learn from them, which I think is very important.
Obviously, and you've touched upon it in your book, Tormented, if nobody has read it. The big turning point in not only your career and your life is failing that drugs test down at Reading. Obviously, you're not stupid. You know, obviously, what you've done prior, so you know it's coming. But what's it like when, obviously, they are random when it all sort of comes around?
Yeah. Listen, it was was horrific. It was, I remember going on the training ground and seeing them and asking one of the players who they were, and they'd telling me it was drug testers, and that feeling in my stomach, you know. But see, to be honest with you, see, looking back now, I think I was trying to get caught. It was like, it was as if I needed something drastic to happen,
Aye.
you know. A cry for help type thing, you know. So I look back today and listen, at the time I thought it was going to be the end of my world. But it sounds bizarre, but it was probably the best thing that happened to me. You know, it got me the help, it got me admitting for the first time that listen, I'm in trouble here. You know, I need a wee hand. You know, my upbringing was you don't ask anybody for anything. You know, you sort all your aid problems out. You know, that was the way it was when we grew up. You didn't tell people you're struggling. You were a man, and you know, and that's just that kind of stigma we're trying to break down a bit. 30 years ago, that was still very much in evidence. You know, you just bottle it up, and that's what I've done for years with drinking drugs, and just but eventually the lid just came off it. You know, and that drug test was the start of that. You know, it was a long journey after that. You know, people think you just feel that drug test and it's all good. That's not the day I still struggle. I'm going to be honest. You know, it's spoke about it at the start in the middle of a pandemic. Anybody who's not had negative thoughts during this or struggled a wee bit, listen, they're either lying or they're unbelievably strong. You know, you can't go through the year that we've had. You know, with all the uncertainty and people dying and things like that, and no, think about your life. You know, everybody's had a lot of time to think about this time, probably a bit too much. You know, that's why people are struggling a bit. You know, because we're creatures of habit, aren't we? We're used to routine. We're used to going to our work and getting and you know doing our stuff, going to the gym, doing whatever it is. You know, and all that stuff's been took for you know. So it's been difficult, but I've used all the stuff that I've learned over the past 20 years. You know, the people that I know that I can speak to, and that for me is massive. You know, just speak to people. And that's something I've really missed. Just human contacts. You know, going and meeting your pals and that's been really difficult. It's been difficult for everybody, you know, but as I say, I'm lucky that I've had this training on myself for the past 20 years that I've got tools to help myself and if I could help somebody else, you know.
It's that whole point of it's fine getting knocked down, but it's not staying down, it's getting up. So obviously, what's the support? Obviously, it's so crucial for your support systems around you at that time. What are Reading like? What are the PFA like? What is it like being back up here? Because I believe you came back up here.
Yeah, I was my contract got terminated just before the results of the terminated. I knew I was failing drug test, so I engineered a payoff because I knew I was going to get sacked and whatever. So I went in and got a payoff. It wasn't a lot of money compared to what I was owed. And then the results of the drug test came in, and for about a week, I didn't even open them. I put them on top of my fridge, and I used to hide it when I was walking by it. I knew the end was coming. If you know what I mean. And eventually the PFA got in touch with me. They were brilliant. English PFA were class with me. They told me what happened. They asked me what happened and stuff. And I had to go to a hearing in Leeds later on that week, and they said they were going to meet us down there before it and have a chat. And I went down there, and as I say, I was going to go down there and lie and tell them that I'd been at a party and somebody had spiked my drink, and I was going to just try and do that. And I went down there, and you know what? For the first time in a long time, I was just honest. I just said, "Listen, I'm struggling. You know, I need help." And I think that was the first time I'd ever done that. And I think they were a bit shocked. Listen, I've since found out that some of the guys in that room were worried about not me getting back playing football, but surviving. You know, I didn't think it was that bad. I genuinely didn't. I thought it was, you didn't see it in yourself, you know, but they were worried about my life. I remember meeting my agent just when the story broke as well, and I remember looking at his face, and I could tell by the way he was looking at me that I was in trouble. You know, he said, I could see it, he was nearly in tears, and he's saying, Andy, you alright? And I'm saying, I'm fine. But I wasn't fine, I was in a bad way, but seeing the people and seeing the look on their face about how, because he hadn't seen me for maybe 6 months, and he could see how badly I'd been doing Hull. But I was only 26 as well, so I thought, listen, see, to be honest, seeing I failed that drug test, I thought my career was over. PFA paid for me to get into the Priory, and that was brilliant because it just got me away for a month, got me out the way, because when the story broke, it was the first item on the 6 o'clock news. It was in the front page of every newspaper in Scotland. It was, as I say, I was really struggling at that point. When you're reading things, I ended up just stopping reading the papers. And then I went into Friday, and that got me away for, just got me out the limelight for a month. And as I say, I was in there a week and I hated it. I wanted, I can't do this. And then I was in 2 weeks and I began to feel a bit better. By the end, I felt good. I started eating better. I was going a wee jog, and I'm starting to look to the future. I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I'd started going to AA and stuff like that as well. I met people who never helped me, and I just thought, right, how can I do? I need to try and get a club, and I thought I'd maybe need to go second, third division in Scotland and try and work my way back up. But I went on Friday Sports Scene or something like that, and I looked better. I'd been on holiday, the wife and 2 boys had been on holiday. I had a wee bit of colour about me, and I'd been training and I looked a bit healthier. I just said, listen, if anybody give me a chance, I'll know what I'm doing. And if I do, just you can work my contract up. And 3 or 4 clubs get in touch with me right away. Kilmarnock, St Johnson, Dundee Utd, offered my contract as well. What I went down and spoke to Bobby Robinson and just thought, this is perfect. It was only 20 minutes for Glasgow. I was still doing about friends and family, and I knew the kind of dressing room it would be down there. I knew it would be a good dressing room for me. So quickly, I would say I was lucky, but I wasn't lucky. Teams knew that instead of getting me, I wasn't drinking, doing other stuff, and they were going to get a good player again. So I don't think it's much a gamble for them either.
No, it's not getting lucky at all. And we spoke about it earlier, it really is that whole full circle sort of transition system, really. So you get picked up at Kilmarnock. What's it like? You're out of football for 5 months, 6 months, going back into the changing room. You said yourself you're a confident guy in the sense that you can be loud and proud when you need to be, but everyone, of course, there is that little bit of nerves inside, and there would be anticipation going into that dressing room in that environment. As you say, you were on the top of every news, in the front of every newspaper as well. Your name was plastered everywhere.
Yeah, so as I say, it was. You're right. I'm no one that worries about getting into a new dressing room. I've never been that type of shy or whatever, But as I say, there've been all these stories written about me about alcohol and drug addicts, and I'm thinking, how are the boys going to take to me? And I thought about getting a case of Budweiser and walking into just to try and take the sting out of it and have a laugh. And I can remember thinking, it's maybe not a good idea. And so I walked in, and as I say, I was quite nervous walking in there which isn't like me, but as I say, I was in there 5 minutes and Ian Durant came in at my back and just started slaughtering me, and that's exactly what I needed. I didn't need kid gloves, I needed just to be right back in about it. And it was brilliant. It was a great dressing room for anyone. Listening to 3 great years there, met some great people, and I just fell in love with football again. I'd lost it. I got to a stage at the United and at Red, I hated going to training. It was just, and I was never like that. I used to love going into training and just even the dressing room, the banter. I loved that. Getting in the morning and just 20 young guys, you know what I mean, being daft and having a laugh and doing stupid things and slagging each other, and that's any ex-pro you speak to, that's the bit they'll tell you they miss the best. That half an hour before training and half an hour after. flinging soaps at each other's heat, and it sounds just stupid, but it's brilliant. It's like your wee gang, and you're all slagging each other, and listen, it's just such a surreal environment. It's no real life. You think that's the way life's going to be forever, and then you come to the end of your football career, and well, what a awakening that is. You're in this wee bubble. You're looked after and everything's done for you, and then the same boom, it ends, and you're into real one.
Right, so you fell in love with football again, and you really did hit the ground running at the start of your career. It really couldn't have got a lot better. And then, just to sort of draw close to that full final circle, you get that Scotland call up. Talk us through that.
That was again amazing. Just sitting in my house on a Sunday night, and Craig Brown, who'd capped me at every level, phoned me. And at first I honestly thought it was a wind-up. I thought somebody was doing that and phoning each other up and putting voices and kid on the reporters and ask questions. Aye, so I thought it was somebody that was putting Craig Brown's voice on, and he phoned, and I went, F off, and just put the phone there. And a guy who'd been a massive part of helped me when I was really struggling. He was in, just having a cup of tea, and we were just sitting. And he phoned back, and it was Craig Brown, and I just wanted to call you up. And to share that with him and my family, was amazing. As I say, to come full circle, to go for, listen, probably about a year previous, I was in rehab, to come through that, to play for your country in a year is, listen, it's a miracle. It's amazing. There's not many people achieve that. So it's things that, again, you're proud of. Being in Poland, and I remember going to Poland. Listen, if you remember about the trip, it was during the foot and mouth epidemic. You go to Poland and you had to step in buckets of bleach and stuff like that. So all this stuff's kind of ingrained into my memory. And the national anthem, just standing there and singing Flower of Scotland and getting emotional, because you think back about where you are, and I just, it's, you play for your country, ain't you? And people maybe do who or whatever, but for me that was a top thing, I dreamed about it as a wee boy, Listen, I've always wanted to walk it at Hamden, but to do that anywhere was good enough for me.
So you've done the full circle, you really have, and then you go back to Dundee United, and you go to Greenock Morton with Jim McAnally, your former teammate. When the full circle is complete, are you still battling your demons? Obviously, there's no surprise you suffer a little bit of depression, obviously, from everything you've been through. When do you sort of realise, though, that there was a reason for the drinking and the drugs? Was it at the Priory, or was it something afterwards?
It was kind of ongoing, you'd learn wee bits and listen to other people and take wee bits, so it's an ongoing process, I was still like that today, take wee bits for things I see or people I hear or whatever, but listen, all it was when you learn it, to forgive myself, I thought I was a bad person, I used to think I've done some bad things. I meant it myself, but I used to think I was a bad person, and like things that happened to me and stuff like that, But I learned to forgive myself, and I learned to like myself again. I know that sounds a bit airy fairy and stuff, but no, listen, I can be in my own head today. I can sit in the house myself, seen it before. I didn't like any company today. I love that. I can sit myself and read a book or watch a film or watch sport. I just love watching sport. I'm going to be honest. Football's been a bit hard this year. I'm going to be honest. I just can't get the football with the no fans. I find it
loses that buzzy.
I find it artificial. I'm going to be honest. I'd hated to have been playing just now. I'm going to be honest. I would really have struggled. For me personally, I kind of fed off the fans. It was bigger the game, the bigger the atmosphere. I don't know. I just.
Did you find that tricky, sorry, when you went back to Kilmarnock? Did you find that tricky with the fans? Were you worried?
Listen, I got it tight. I'm going to be honest. That was one of the tough bits for me, you know. Listen, some days you've been in a good mood and things would brush off you, and other times you're having a bad day, you're human, you know, and you maybe react to things that you wish you hadn't have, and then it kind of affects your performance and stuff like that. I mean, some of the stuff you used to get said at me wasn't nice, you know. It was ridiculous, actually, you know. But it was part of the game, you know. Listen, I've had people apologising to me since, you know, like been caught up in the moment or whatever, you know. Listen, that's what fuck with this to you, done it, you know. It's people have shouted things, and I've had letters off people saying that they can't believe they've done it, and it's heat at the moment. And listen, like I say, everybody make wrong mistakes, don't they? You know, it's I'm no better about anything, you know. That was the way my career went. Listen, it shined a light on me, probably got me a bit better attention, and probably I would have done otherwise, you know. So, but listen, it was something I made that mistake, you know. So Scottish fans are quick to remind you about it, you know. But also it's hundreds and thousands of people that have told me otherwise, that inspired them, or you know, or I helped in some small way, you know, maybe read a book or something like that, you know. And that's very humbling as well, you know, to think that reading a wee bit of my story, or maybe hearing me talk on a podcast or whatever, it's kind of helped them. And that's why I do these things, because people were good to me, people helped me, people shared their story with me, and told me that I was going to be alright if I done the things that I knew that I should be doing, the good stuff for me. If I done all that, looked after myself, then I'd be alright, you know. So that's basically the kind of message I try to get out there, you know. Nothing lasts forever, you know. If you can through a bad spell right now, it'll pass, you know. I've been through many of them, and I've had plenty of good times as well, you know. People think, that's enough. I've had a great one. I look back at my life, and, you know, I've been out of the world with football. I've played in cup finals, I've played for Scotland, I was in Brazil during the World Cup 2014 and walked through the rainforest. I've been in a film, in the Guinness Book of World Records. Listen, I've had a fulfilling life, you know. I've done loads of stuff, and I'm trying to see the good in everything, you know. I'm trying to just stay positive, and that's what I do today in my life. That's a kind of the way I live my life today, and sometimes, like I say, it can be hard, especially now.
You're spot on everything you say, Andy, and it is a real credit to yourself, like I say, that Davy Martindale and Jerry Farrell, they're coming out, and you were a bit of, it's maybe not the trend that you want to set, but you were a bit of a trendsetter, and at full circle, and people can change. We spoke about before, your book, Tormented, really, it is a tremendous read, and I can quite believe that I'd been quite liberating in a way. You're getting everything out. Maybe you're not getting everything out. Maybe somebody else is getting everything out while they're writing it. But you do a lot of charity work as well. And I guess the next thing is really just to be going around clubs, to be going around schools, and just really telling your story. Because, like you say, if your message and your story can help somebody else, then that's the way forward.
No, definitely. Yeah, and I do a lot of that. Not as much as what I'd like, you know. I've not been into many clubs. I keep banging on about it, so that nobody invites me in. But I've been in a lot of schools, especially like kind of mental health message as well, you know, because I think that's going forward. I think that's going to be vital. You know, I think people can really impacted by what's happening. And like I say, it's trying to carry a message. Like anybody can. You know, there's no that stigma anymore, you know. Listen, there still is a bit, but it's getting a lot better. You know, people are beginning to learn to open up and things as well. And it's not just about opening up, it's about people who need good listeners as well. You know, if somebody comes to you, people think they've got to have all these answers, and that's not the case. You know, see, sometimes it's just about having landing somebody in here and just listen. You know, you don't need to. I mean, I've not got any answers for anybody, you know, but I'll listen to people. And I took bits of everybody to try and what works for me might not work for somebody else, you know. So I don't like saying to somebody, well, do this and you'll be okay. do this and you'll be okay, because I don't know if that would work for somebody else, you know. So it's about just being yourself and trying to be the best you can be.
You really are spot on, Andy, and you may not want to hear it, but you are inspirational, and you really should take a real pride in that. So all I have left to say is thank you so much for joining me on Soccer Supernova, and really just take care, and thank you once again.
No, thanks for having me. Cheers, enjoyed that. Thanks.